Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to Return to EverQuest, a podcast where we revisit and discuss the classic game of EverQuest. In this episode today, I'm going to be joined by my co-host Derek and Carlos, and we're going to be sharing some aspects that we love about classic EverQuest. Before we begin, I want to thank you all for listening to our show, and thank you examining for taking the time to leave those ratings and reviews that you've been putting on iTunes for us. We're dedicated to earning that 5-star rating from you, and promise to keep creating the best podcast we can make in the community. Time after time, there's a ton of folks out there just like us that remember the glory days. So guys, we've been playing a few. We've already gotten over 525 downloads for our first episode in just under 2 weeks. So what do you all think of this experience? Look, I'm going to be asking for your help. Been trying to recapture that magic and help power level from the classic EverQuest podcast here. Do you think there's anything special about what we're doing, playing together? Does that make it more fun? What do you all think? Rating and help us get those 50 first 5-star reviews. But if we get that within the next 2 weeks, look, I'm going to talk to Derek and Carlos here, and we might start considering putting out weekly episodes because we're going to see there's a big interest there. So don't forget to tell your friends about our EQ podcast. And it has helped us. With that, let's dive in and discuss one thing we each love about classic EverQuest. And if you're listening at home or in the car, I want you to pick one thing that you loved about classic EverQuest and see if it matches any of our picks. So Derek, with that, take us away.
Without those improvements, we would have spent 90% of that session either trying to get our corpses or blasting the zone chat, begging for someone to drag it out for us. And I just think that one mistake doesn't ruin the night with the limited amount of time that we have. And, you know, I feel that really we're benefiting from that improvement a lot.
Yes, we won you over to the light side here. I remember early on you were all against it. I think I was the only one in favor of it. I don't know where Derek stands, but I mean, it seems that you can get killed and have some mistakes in the game, and it's not as unforgiving, and your night's not ruined, especially with the limited playtime we have. So we can just like laugh it off and have a good time together. So I think it's a little bit more de-stress, and you can just kind of relax, chill, you know, have a drink, enjoy your evening, and not get so anxiety about it. Everything
takes 30 minutes to get from for me, this is one of those aspects with both pros and cons. So I could agree with Carlos that there's definitely more playtime involved with our schedules, but when it comes down to it, the con for me is it encourages people to seek more reward for less risk. So you're more willing to, like we did in Befallen, that we'll speak about later, is, you know, we jumped through the hole to get down to the third floor, and if you had to do corpse runs, we would have been, we would have never done that.
This is hardcore stuff, man. I remember,
you know what I mean? So,
you know, one of the things about being maybe you wouldn't. I'm always ready to risk it off.
That's what you say now until you spend 5 hours trying to get that corpse.
I'm always living on the edge, man. By the boats. So what else do you have, Derek? What are your thoughts on there? Then when people come by, you can like.
So in reference to my personal EQ experience, things just didn't feel right for me.
If you got on the boat, man,
you know, player versus player PvP aspect that I'm used to from the old days, but I think I'm finally starting to adapt to the gameplay.
Having your
to
guy,
me,
Derek,
without PvP, we can travel freely, go AFK, hunt in close proximity to others without fear of other players coming to kill us. So it definitely makes the game a whole lot easier. For those who have never played on a PvP server, you must realize that the game dynamic is vastly different. So this is what I've gathered from my perspective. On a PvP server, your primary goal is player versus player interactions, right? Everything's focused on that. So you gain levels and gear in order to become a greater threat to your opponents. You don't have much time for exploration because it's just not a priority, and you don't want to risk death to other players. So you stick with what's familiar. You stick with your familiarized zones for, you know, people are hunting that are on your team, especially when we were playing on the team, you know, Talon's X server. So on a non-PvP server, it seems like the primary goal is just to enjoy the whole experience of the game altogether.
It's like a payday.
You have all the time in the world for exploration. I think the other day I visited the continent of Otis for the first time ever that I've played EverQuest. I know that some people might find it
tedious having to walk around for so long for a destination. For me, but I think it forces you to explore new zones, and I couldn't do it. I mean, I'm more into the RPG part of the game, and I don't know if some of you just do this, but it's kind of what you do in real life. Go fishing, enjoy the scenery. If you drive around neighborhoods, I don't have to look behind my back every single time because some bloodthirsty players out to ruin my day. No thanks. And it kind of ties into
bringing you that fishing pole when you're on the PvP server.
I love.
That's the best bait right there, guys. Fishing has a fish pole in his hand.
This was the very first time.
Yeah, you know, I agree with what Derek said. So being on Talon's X,
and you realize that
you know, we played evil characters a lot.
That was intense. that never happened to me before.
And it was kind of like I can only go to certain zones because if you went into
it's definitely
the middle of Antonica, it's going to be all the
lights.
Good guys beating you up. So you had to be kind of isolated to Kunark and the south during this downtime of Antonica.
It's quite natural.
And I never went to Velios hardly. I never went to Otis. Fedor, forget it. That was like
and these chats, I think they can create long-lasting
come and get you. So
and they can even evolve to
real life. I think I'm having
fortunate
a lot of fun playing now. I look forward to this every week. It's like the highlight of my weekend to get to sit down and enjoy playing with you all. The next point I did my Steinamoggin quest recently with my channel. That brought back a lot of cool memories.
The fact that there's no mini-map
across
the original maps,
Antonica, getting all the different parts of the
it really added to that immersion.
I had to go to Otis.
You had to rely on landmarks to guide you. And entering a new zone, not knowing a thing about the layout.
And I think the best part of the magic that I'm recapturing is playing
that sense
with
of dread
and people
that
a few
I
enjoy hanging out with.
And
so you all, my brother, my best
find
friends,
yourself lost and
sitting there every Saturday night and being able to just chill and hang out. The gameplay is kind of like extremely super high intensity, so we can talk about life. Yeah, talk about what's been going on. I see that obviously you Saturday night so much more enjoyable. Like kind of that hardcore. What do you guys type play? Not necessarily. Hopefully, you're all enjoying it like I am. And don't think your corpse runs and things you had to do when you died. You had to you start off with nothing. You have to go find your corpse.
One thing
long downtime between camps.
One thing I wanted to point out is
looking back.
You did mention
I don't know. I think that
I want to say that I
kind of prefer how it is now. Like I die. I start with all my stuff. I'm ready to go. Yeah, it's a little.
We don't have to rely on those dang macros,
I don't have the time.
The only thing I can really think of
like dedicate to that. I will say though, talking to people was a very cool aspect that
getting yourself one and jerry rigging it.
And I think today on Aradune, when we've been playing, there seems to be a healthy population. I don't know about the other servers for like newbie zones, but I think on the time lock progression, I do like the fact that this one has only been around, I believe,
big old PC tower
since May of 2020, and so being that it's new and they unlock the expansions every 3 months. Yeah, man. We had what? How many people did we have in our house at the max? I think like 8. We had a little hub, and there's a lot of people coming back. Work hub. We plug everybody into. Going around the house, coming back.
People.
There's other people that I've seen in the game.
A variety of different games, but EQ was one of them.
I agree.
Yeah, that's as close as you got to like voice chat back then. We were younger. We didn't really know how to use all the voice chat communication things they had back then. I don't think they really had many, so it's really nice to have that voice chat now.
I mean, maybe TeamSpeak.
Time consuming.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Discord definitely helps out. I mean, I agree as well. Playing online with a variety of friends like we're doing now is much better.
I also agree
because we always have a full group. I mean, the downtime is drastically minimized. The group communication is maximized with the voice chat, and I feel like we can take on any zone comparable to our level. So it definitely makes the game easier, more effective.
Speaking of that, we got our gnome crew. We got to probably figure out a name to call us because I keep calling it like online. Hey, the gnome crew went to Unrest and Befallen, but maybe we got to come up, not this episode, but think about it. Maybe like a guild name, a little name for our crew so we can talk about that. And for those listening, just an update on our characters. So we were hunting from levels 10 to 13 in Unrest. And then we went from Unrest later on to
Did you ever have to deal with?
But we're going to talk right now about Unrest. After Crushbone, we figured we would. We heard there was some good hunting in Unrest. They have a big outdoor area that's like a lower end zone, part of the zone in Unrest. So we wanted to go there. So I'll pass it over to Carlos. Carlos, give us some lore and some background on the zone, and then we'll talk about our experience.
Yeah, sure. So the state of Unrest.
Well, here's.
I really think that in order to appreciate it more, we got to step back a little and look at the bigger picture.
Well, you make a mistake.
We dive a little bit on Unrest. But before we do, I kind of wanted to annoy you guys and ask you a really quick question.
You're banned from the zone. If you come back into
the zone, I'm not giving you any more money, man.
Nothing
right now.
Everyone's paying for you.
What's up?
Okay, here we go. Do you know the actual name of the gods?
Talking about the maps, like the nobody map part, what I loved as a kid was like going on to Alex Kazak's website, right? And looking up like those hand-drawn maps of each zone. What's the other one? The other one is someone made them with colored pencils or something. Rexus, maybe. And just looking at those for reference. I don't know who that person is though, but we all get a gratitude. It's just like the same style.
I'll give you a clue.
Somebody went here like made these maps of every zone, and they're not credited anywhere that I know. If anybody knows who that person is, Quelia, shout out to them because they've done a Quelia for all of us and their hard work.
So yeah,
and I'll take the next one here. So what I love is like the old MIDI EverQuest soundtrack, like the sound and music from the original zones. You know, they bring me, when I listen to them on Spotify now, they're out there, everybody, if you're listening. They had like the 20th anniversary, and they put them out, the whole soundtrack. You can go on Spotify.
By doing this, they
even buy it as a
created 2 more
vinyl.
deities.
It's pretty cool. So they have all the original songs. My favorite songs were like the Halfling Habit songs. That's like the Rivervale song, and you go in there and they have like a little Halfling,
he looks for
you know, very cheery, chipper song. And then Sunrise Over Kinos. That was really cool, very classic. And then of course, so like the music that I've heard in some of the newer zones,
so she
always been playing.
She obviously took after
there's a
her
holy candle to it. So like, what do you guys?
So whenever you think of
my
your little
favorite song
gnomes
used to
going
be
to
the
sleep,
Steamfont
that means we're
Mountains.
subject to this constant battle for power over our dreams,
Song
right?
stuck with you.
So that's the constant battle between
later
Quellius and
expansions, they
Khazad-dûr, right?
changed the song
And
completely,
that bit of
and
info
now I
on
think
that
it's
cosmic
actually
tug
one
of
of my
war
least
between these two gods,
But, who
I
knows,
think
maybe we'll
you'll
come
appreciate
time.
the story behind Unrest.
If I had to choose a favorite song,
and I'll give you the skinny version because I don't want to bore you to death or be here all night.
Rivervale.
So,
I mean,
but according to legend,
no other
cleric of
theme
Quellius took his family to
that
Fador,
polka
to
style
spread the word of
music.
Quellius to all
You
the
know, it
inhabitants
just
of that
really
continent.
wants to,
We unfortunately
put
lost
your
his
big
name
hairy
through
feet
the
up and
ages, so don't worry
sip
about
a day
it. But
away. With
all you
nice
have to
cold
remember
beer.
is that he built a very impressive estate in Dogner's Cauldron. And while this was happening,
not that one. Okay, wrong.
He just went bananas and murdered his wife and children and then fled the city.
Well, hey,
and
look,
as he
let's
was
talk about our
escaping,
group
he ran
update
into
here.
that manor that
So
was built
we,
by the
at the
priest
time of
and proceeded to
Crushbone,
torture and
we
kill
made
the
it to
entire
about level
family.
10. We spent the
Dang,
last 2
that's
weeks
messed
hunting
up.
in Crushbone. And this
obviously
zone's
that
like
enraged
notorious for
Quellius
trains and
seeing all her
Newbie
worshippers murdered in
So
such a way.
Nurfenpurf,
So she came down
poor
and cursed
Nurfenpurf
to spend
was
all
mocked
eternity
by a bunch
existing
of
in
orc
that pain he
legionnaires.
inflicted on his
So
victims.
he's,
And
you know, he
doomed
was
him to
at
walk,
first he's starting, he's
halls and
feeling
torment.
good. You know, I'm
And
going
one
in
thing
there
to
like
note,
Chanter stuff.
this is the only
I'm kind of
recorded
like Rusty.
time
I
that
haven't
we
played
ever
like
see
15
Quellius
years.
lose her temper.
And,
right?
you know, I
She's
pulled too
the
many
goddess
mobs
of
and then
tranquility,
boom,
right?
I'm just getting
I didn't
overran.
think
But
about that.
luckily,
That's pretty cool.
I've
So
gotten better at crowd
after this
control, like
happened,
messing
the
with
rumors
the mobs
started
and
mulling around,
you know, making sure their magic
Norath
resistance is
about this
down and
haunted
controlling
manor.
them.
And that
And
piqued
so
the interest
that
of one
hasn't
of the
been
followers
too big of an issue.
The
last time
there was
we
this
went
Eurodite
there.
priest
And
that
I got
eventually
my
made the
illusions
trek
from
all the
my
way to the
enchanter
haunted
now, so
manor
now I can look
to
like a
find the
dark
ghost of
elf.
Journal.
I can
Because
look
he was
like
trying
a
to convince him to go
human. You know,
along with his
Nurfenpurf starting to
plan
get
of
his
giving
groove
him
on,
much more
feeling a
power
little bit better
because
about
he was
himself,
thinking
you
he was
know, with these
twisting that
illusions. But I
original
think it's
curse
like a
that
shallow,
Quellius,
like still feels empty
put upon
inside.
him.
Gotta find
And
out
he wanted to
love
twist it
in
around and give him more
Nurfenpurf.
power with it.
And
so once
just want to go
Garano
back and
agreed
talk a
that
quick
Eurodite
overview
exhumed
of the
all
zone
the bodies
Crushbone
of
for
dead
everybody
family
to kind of
and just
remember.
dissected
So
them
there were
and
some main locations
chucked
there, right? We
all
had
little hundred
the
of
slave
pieces
cabin in the
out of their
caves,
bodies.
the
And he
slave
casted
pits.
this powerful spell
Turner Hill.
that
Remember,
called
guys, we went
upon
up there and
Khazad-dûr
like all those
himself,
orcs were on top of that hill.
His incantation was so powerful
and one of
that
them's a
the
trainer. I think he had a
Eurodite
shield or
died for
something
his
pretty
soul.
good.
So he pretty much
Then we had the
sacrificed
Castle
himself for a
Crush,
greater cause.
where the
And that
ambassador
devotion
Divin, the
led
dark elf
Khazad-dûr to
guys
reanimate
hanging
all
out,
of those little
the
pieces of
prophet,
flesh
and
that
then
were
Emperor Crush
dissected
himself.
and
You can
turned
kind
them
of
into
see
the
them
army of the
from the throne room.
undead.
And
that
I
you
believe
see
last
now
time we were
haunting
there,
the grounds
guys,
what we
there was
now
what?
know
There's a
as
guy
the
power
Estate
leveling in there, right? Who's like killing everything.
Wow. You know,
It's
if
pretty neat,
Nurfenpurf
yeah.
knew
You can actually see it from
beforehand, he may not have gone.
Hill. You can actually see them into the
pretty
storm,
dark
like
story.
you're saying. That is pretty
Yeah.
neat.
There's a
You would
little
like try
fact
to
that might
snipe
interest
them
you
or
guys
something,
as
get
well.
the whole train,
there is
the whole
another
train to
NPC
zone coming out of
hidden
there.
away in a cave
And
that you find
lastly,
in
we'll talk
Unrest.
about the
And
mobs.
he's
There's
one of our
different types
brethren.
orcs
He's
there. So you
a
had the
gnome
orcs and
spelunker.
Taurians, the pawns,
So if you ever see yourself going back into
legionnaires,
Unrest,
and the oracles.
go try to find him.
Seeing all that kind of was neat to kind
What's he
of
doing?
go back there, and that
No?
zone is
What's he
still in its
doing,
original
Yeah.
stasis. Because some of the
I don't know.
zones have been
I found
reworked
him and I
into
tried to
like
talk to
newer
him, but he
graphics,
just
but
doesn't
this
like
zone
me.
has
We're like,
stayed the same.
you know,
So if you go
brothers.
back, you'll be able to do
But
that.
he's in a
All right,
cave
Ticklewinks,
with
what do you got?
zombie.
Woof.
I think
Ticklewinks,
the epic for the
unfortunately,
bard.
got
You have to go down
deleted
there, but
by that train of orcs.
I gotta say, our
Is
puller
he-
really got overconfident.
is he in close
and,
proximity to
trained a
the
little too
enemy
many orcs in that
monsters?
group. No, well, there's
Hey,
no
man, I
monsters
told you
in
run,
that
and you
little
tried
cave.
to
It's
be a
just
hero.
him.
I
No,
said,
just
run,
zombie.
this is
There's a spell that clerics
I
have
really
that makes you
don't remember, pretty much.
I guess that's
immune,
homework for me.
Unfortunately,
Wow. Okay.
I couldn't
Cool.
cast it.
And I think we're gonna go back there because we only were there until level 13, so we were
kind
kind
of
of
like a champ.
weak for the zone.
But
There's,
I
for everybody
wanted to point
listening,
out
there
that
is
we grouped with
main
a very
house,
unlikely
a big,
fella when we were in
like
Crushbone.
rich manor that's
This
in the
was the
middle
first
of this
time we
square
actually
plot
got
of
to
land.
meet the troll
outside of it, there's a big yard surrounded by
troll shaman
monster
by the name
zombies,
of
little death beetles and things like that that are lower
level. That was
level,
our first
like
encounter
the
with that
10
race.
to 13 range.
Another thing that happened,
and then there's a little
really threw
maze,
the honor
hedge
code out the
hedgerow maze that's out there. Kind of going for those group. Like in France, they had those little tiny hedgerows.
The looting
there's a gazebo, and then there's that little hill.
Me myself, I'm not too familiar with the master looter, so this was the very first time.
So we'll definitely have to go back there and see what's inside the house.
After a few drops, we were noticing that all the loot was going to Winklebone, and we're like,
last time. So speaking of which,
he's only rolling
decimated and killed.
To find out,
I
he's
want to talk
actually
about
using the always need
things that
function.
While
everybody else, us chumps, were using
Evernerd.
So, now, I don't think since that happened, everybody's putting always need on every item. So there goes that. Oh, you just gave it away.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, Nurfenpurf, he's, my bags are getting heavy. I need to sell all my little gems and my rusty swords. This will be new, so it's a way to kind of streamline looting. So every time you kill a monster, island in the middle, the loot pops up in this. So Jagner's Cauldron is like this edge, you always need it. If you never need it, and there's a little island surrounded by a huge one, you'll sell that to vendor. And on the island, so that's kind of what Winklebone did. He started putting need for everything. So I'm putting like greed. I don't need this amount. Shoes or whatever. Hey, and we're gonna go. If I get it, great. But and you roll for it. Evernerd comes to that. Like, didn't want to go. Have always greed. They roll. There's nothing there. Just follow me. We'll swim across the ocean. Yeah, if you put always need, you get priority. So those greed people don't even get to roll. And Evernerd followed. So what? I'll let Evernerd fill in his side of the story. But I'll tell you this: Nurfenpurf gave everybody fair warning and was calling out what's around. So there shouldn't have been no one to die. I don't want to put any blame or blame. He was like the first session. He's like, I gotta load up.
Yeah, well, with Evernerd's previous EverQuest experience, he's like, he knew better than to just go to the island. So from my experience traveling through Dagner's Cauldron, there's always this myth going around that there was like a Loch Ness type monster living within the waters of Dagner's Cauldron. So it's just like an untouchable area that you never traveled through.
And so I still remember there was one point
Nurfenpurf's like, yeah, let's go. So we start going over there. We don't have any invis. Everyone has like 2 points in swimming. We finally get over there. So it takes us forever to swim. We finally get over there, find the merchant, sell our stuff. And as I'm selling my stuff, a goblin starts attacking me. And these goblins are...
Hey, I know what it is. They think we're kind of funny, I guess. I mean, we are like this. There's goblins everywhere. Run away. So, even though we have some people that are not on the podcast, you wanted to sell that stuff to the merchant, so you can load up your bags. And I know. Don't put this on Nurfenpurf every time we play.
I'm at the merchant, and I start getting hit. And I say, hey guys, I need help. And everybody was like, I don't know where you guys were. You guys were all kind of funny. Everybody kind of something like that. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm gonna cast Root, which is a spell that stabilizes, keeps them in the same specific spot, so you can't move anymore. Well, I cast Root like 3 times and it resisted. It's like 5 or 10 levels above me. So I'm like, okay, no worries. My experience, I have Shadow Step memorized. So Shadow Step's a spell where you click and it transports you like 100 feet this way or 300 feet that way. It gets you some distance. So I'm like, I'm gonna Shadow Step. I'll be in the water. I'll start swimming. I'm good to go. So as soon as I click Shadow Step, it transports me to the lowest point in the water on the floor, and I start trying to swim. I have 2 points in swimming. I realized at that point, guys, starting to lose air. I realized at that point that I was not going to make it to the top without drowning. So I look the other way and I see the goblin slowly swimming towards my direction. So I'm like, okay, I got experience with this too. So I started memorizing the gate spell, which will transport me out the zone. So I memorized the gate spell, and I forgot how long it takes for it to actually load into your spell box. They have like a 12-second refresher there, and probably for instances like this. So I'm sitting there waiting 12 seconds. Okay, I'm gonna die before 12 seconds. Yeah, I start swimming up. I see the goblin.
I think
I'm like 10 feet away from the top.
He's pretending it's a character.
I'm just a little personal. Didn't cut that part off. Honestly, the Shadow Step.
This whole thing comes full circle with the taking risks. You could have. You got too greedy, man. You took a risk you shouldn't have taken.
Boat ride.
Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah, it's kind of like the
EverQuest. Now, my corpse would be at the bottom of there with the Loch Ness monster somewhere.
It's like a little flute with a little drum.
Carlos, what stories do you have for us from that time? What was your kind of like the funny moments you remember?
Oh man, do you know what that reminds me of? Trains, more trains. A little bit. There really isn't nothing like
Waterworld.
I mean, go listen to the theme. Go listen to the theme of Waterworld. It has the same flutes and the drums, like kind of in the middle of the theme. Just get out of that manor and go into the zone.
You ever listen to the soundtrack?
You guys remember? that Benny
First
Hill.
off, why am I going to waste my time watching Waterworld? Right?
It's so fitting. It's so fitting to think of when I see the ocean. Sometimes go around in circles in the middle, right? All the low level guys are in the middle of the ocean. It just for me, it just hit home with Waterworld.
That's a great representation.
It pretty much is, right? But in one of those weird high-level
watch Waterworld,
the most underrated, for some odd reason, movie of the minding our own business. The way we were hunting.
Wasn't there a part 2 Waterworld? It was
west
like,
side, all the way at the wall because we haven't even touched that manor.
Make sure you guys watch that one.
And for some odd reason, this really high-level skeleton.
Well,
I don't know.
Got some time for lore here. So, Derek, you want to lead us off in the lore section?
Because I'm in the back. He literally passes everybody on the group. He's just minding his own business. Goes right at me, smacks me a couple of times, and kills me. And I swear to God, to this day, I have no idea what beef that guy had with Ticklewinks. I had no idea. I don't know.
You got to do it. You got to do what Nurfenpurf does. You got to look him in the eyes. If you turn away, they'll know you're scared.
If you look him in the eyes, you got to be submissive. You got to look down.
First thing I found is that Sony has stated that
I remember we had like one point where this mob came out. It was like a tentacle thing, and it was like level 30 something, and it was the pathing was all screwed up, and we were sitting there beating this thing for like 50 minutes, man. We're level 15. We're trying to smack this tentacle. We're missing, trying to cast spells. Can't. I don't think we killed it because there were some people power leveling inside that manor, and every once in a while, all hell would break loose, and they'd come running out of the manor with just 50 mobs on them. And we'd have to run out and get out of there. So it's crazy.
A terror or something.
Dark terror. Yeah, the thing was glitched. It was like running outside the zone, like into a wall. So we all ganged up on it, and no spells hit because he resisted everything. Every hit was missing. Nothing was happening. Yeah, the thing was actually regenerating. It was regenerating health when we were attacking it. 6 little gnomes.
But what I found interesting was the different type of monsters they had there. So we had the death beetles were mainly what we hunted, the ghouls, the zombies, and the skeletons. And they also had like those jack-o'-lantern guys. And so my enchanter was able to charm now. So I used to charm jack-o'-lanterns or the ghouls to fight the monsters we were fighting. But what did you guys kind of take up from the theme of the monsters there? Did it go with the lore? What are your thoughts?
That's exactly one thing I wanted to point out. There's a lot of roaming mobs, and it makes sense now that we heard about the lore, right? Having all these weird undead just roaming around. But I know I'm being a stickler here, but how do the jack-o'-lanterns, how do they fit into the lore of Unrest? For me, I had no idea where they came from, so that was kind of weird. And Dark Terrors just confused the heck out of me. Like, what are they? Right? They're just this triangle thing with tons of little arms flailing around, and it just makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, a lot of questions left unanswered. I mean, I've never been too fond of Unrest myself. I did explore there during levels, 10 to 13 is usually when I would go there and stay there till about 15 or 16. But the zone is just really chaotic, and the amount of distance that a tank class has to go. If you're a spellcaster, you could bind yourself close to the zone, and if you die, you're there. But if you're a tank class, you got to walk 2 or 3 zones to get back to this place. So it's kind of an inconvenience for them. But one day I'd like to go back with our characters and explore the mansion itself and fight Garnell Ruxif, which is who Carlos was speaking about earlier, the guy that was cursed, and he's way down in the basement of the mansion now. But from what I was able to see inside the mansion, it still looks very chaotic. I was able to use my Eye of Zom spell, if you guys remember, to go into the mansion and look at some rooms, and also if you could utilize the transparency glitch through the walls. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, if you guys had it too, but someone would have to confirm this for me. I made a Eurodite character the other day, and I tried to look through the walls, and I couldn't do it. So I don't know if that's just something that's specific to smaller races or gnomes, but if you get close enough to the wall as a gnome, you could see through all the walls. I mean, it makes the entire zone transparent. And you guys have experience with other races?
Yeah, I'm thinking because every time I play like my bigger characters in the past, I don't ever recall that being a thing. But I've noticed with like Nurfenpurf, if I get up to a wall, I can kind of see through it. It's pretty,
all right, that's my
interesting.
portion.
And I think for me, the monsters there in Unrest Unrest. I think they were thematically appropriate, except for maybe the jack-o'-lantern. But jack-o'-lanterns are scary. Who is not freaked out by a headless person? And maybe that's what happened. I'm going to stick with the story of those are the people in the house who had their heads chopped off. And they just had a pumpkin patch.
The Reverend of
Laura. Who the heck put the pumpkin on him?
Norath Lore over here.
Here we go. With the crazy.
Hey, the gardener. There had to be a gardener. I'm just saying.
While Derek here is consulting his notes and his tome of lore, I'll just say this. If any of our EverQuest listeners out there were like me and heard just some
I don't think there's
ASMR lore, it seemed as Derek was laying down on us, relaxing. I almost, had like the whole stress of the week fall off.
Sporadic rain that came on and off every so often. I got kind of old.
All right, Derek.
So it got kind of annoying after a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was kind of creepy to me. Felt like I was in a haunted house. Derek?
Yeah, to me, I feel like they created this zone for a Halloween event, put the jack-o'-lanterns in there, and just forgot to remove it after the season was done. I think for me, a song that would fit well here is the Michael Myers theme.
Yeah, that would be a theme song that I think would fit nicely there as well.
Yeah, so let's just say there's definitely happier places in Norath. I can tell you that much.
With that, we had completed our adventures in Unrest. And it was time to head to new and dangerous dungeons, such as Befallen. So our brave gnomes traveled all the way from Fedor for the first time ever to Antonica. And so, Derek, can you give us a kind of quick overview on Antonica and the journey?
Fourth and final.
In order to get to the Befallen from Unrest on the Aradune server as quickly as possible, the first thing you must do is go to Butcher Block and take the translocator at the dock to the Ocean of Tears. Then you take the translocator in the Ocean of Tears to the human city of Freeport on the continent of Antonica. And then you zone into the common lands where the entrance to Befallen is located.
At return to Derek, for everybody else who's kind of only familiar with the classic EverQuest,
Carlos,
the translocator, can you explain what that is?
You got any philosophy?
Yeah, something that was added later in the game. So originally you would have to take a boat from Fedor to Antonica. And you travel through the ocean. It was like a 30, 45-minute journey to get there.
So thanks, Derek.
But so now what they decided to do, I'm not sure of the reason, I'm just to make the game easier, is they added an NPC that sits at the dock as like a wizard.
So they're bound to
just hail him.
So if you have further info
to Antonica, and then he immediately transports you, like first it's to the Ocean of Tears, and then the next translocator there transports you to Antonica. So it takes approximately 3 minutes to get there instead of 45 minutes like it did.
That being mainly Crushbone, and which I think is a terrible. And the first one, Crushbone, pretty much is now you can't just sit takes its name from an orc clan, and it was founded by the biggest group of enslaved. Takes you back and reminds you of one of the most underrated. And you remember we touched a little bit about it last episode.
Hey,
unfortunately, I couldn't really.
The boat is still there, so you can pretend you're playing Waterworld.
So if anybody knows anything about him, just give us a shout.
Derek, what's the rest of the journey there?
So before we get into our Befallen experience, let me share a quick info bite on the continent of Antonica itself. And this information I got from the player's handbook of the EverQuest role-playing game.
It's not Crush, obviously.
D&D board game.
Yeah.
All right, so let me get into
his name was Garrow.
Antonica
last episode
is the mainland in the known
Garrow
world.
Was responsible.
It's a continent that was renamed in honor of the founder of the Kingdom of Chaos.
This was because Garrow saw the elves as a race that was stealing the land from them in Greater Fedar. Question number 2.
It was known as Tunaria after the goddess Tuner.
No.
Who first populated the land with her high elven children.
Question number 2. Do you know what
many high elves
I'll give you a clue.
Refer to it as Tunaria to this day.
Go ahead, Derek.
No matter what the young race of humans chooses to call it.
Yeah, it's the elves. That's be good propaganda for them. I'm gonna say I don't know. What is that? Is that a high elf city in the trees? Is that a high elf? It's a high elf. Tree city.
Not the high elf.
You walk village. Maybe.
It's Child of Kelly. And,
so
Kelly was
for everybody
one
listening,
of the most respected
elf
rangers that assembled
levels
a team
13 and 15
to provide a continued assault on the orcs. And the main reason for this was to
share some lore. So everybody gather around
above the
fireplace. We're going to go into character now.
Fedar, all going to be in the city of California that you see up
here we go.
And contrary to some
Nurfenpurf, Ticklewinks, and Evernerd were tired after
my
their
friends
long night
have,
in Unrest.
I think that
They made
Kelvin
camp
is one
in
of
the
the most
Butcherblock
unique
Mountains
and beautiful
and started a
cities that
small
we find
fire
in
to begin
EverQuest
cooking
today.
their rations.
So haters.
A gust of wind blew through their camp as an elderly human wizard in black,
there
dusty
was a
robes
major event
suddenly
that
appeared out
happened,
of thin air.
known as
The
Great
strange
Burning during
wizard
the battles.
hailed the
And
group
I
of
found a
gnomes
nice
as he approached.
passage from the beta lore
Being
for
kind
AQ
gnomes,
that
they
really
greeted the
helps
old man
paint a
and offered
picture
him what
as
drink
to how
they had.
brutal these orc elven
As
battles
token of
were.
thanks,
I'm not going to be as
the elderly
amazing
wizard
as
offered
Derek
them a tale they
was,
would never
but
forget.
If you guys don't mind, just
tale of
put on your imagination
Befallen.
caps while I read this for you.
Gather
Get
around
your
the
cups of
fire,
coffee
my
ready,
gnomish friends.
There you go.
Don't be
little cup
shy.
of coffee, get your blanket
What I'm
on,
about to tell
and
you is a
let's begin.
true
So
tale.
most of the orcs
Heed
who
my
lead the first
warnings.
attack were
It was
killed,
many ages
and the
ago
rest
on the
were turned
continent of
quickly away.
Antonica
Angry at
that
this
the
new
knightly
defeat
order of
and jealous
Mars
of the elven
Fist
strength,
sought to
Geralt
expand
started
their
to plot a new
territories
system
out
of
from
attack.
beyond the
He understood
walls
that
of the
most of the
great
soldiers
human
had been
city of
slaughtered from
Freeport and
elves
into
high
the
in the
common
treetops,
lands.
who would rain
Bandits
showers of
and
arrows
Death
down
Fist
on his
orcs
forces.
had been
Before the
terrorizing
second attack,
travelers in
Geralt
those
put his
days,
orcs into
so the
a
knights
long line of
established a
attackers.
stronghold of
Gave
their own
each
in the
soldier
common
his own
lands
makeshift
to bring
torch.
order
He then ordered
to
the
those
entire
untamed
host
lands.
to run into the
One
borders of the
fateful
Greater
night,
Fadar
a patrol
and
of
burn
knights
whatever they
set
could
out
touch.
from their
The
newly built
crestfallen orcs
stronghold
set fire
in the
from
common
everything
lands,
to the
and
tops of the
happened
trees
upon
to
a
the grasses of the
shriveled,
forest
dying
land.
man
Nothing but
writhing
ash
in
was left in
pain.
their wake.
The knights
The elven
rushed the
archers
dying
high
man
in the
to their
trees were
stronghold,
burned to
called
death,
upon
and the
their
remaining
clerks to
elven
heal the man,
soldiers,
and gave
horrified
him
and shocked
quarters
at the
until
tactics of
fully
their strange
recovered.
enemy,
Unbeknownst
began
to the
make a
knights,
hasty
they had
retreat.
saved
The wood elves would later
Gainok
call the incident the Great
Mortar, a
Burning.
sinister
Geralt,
man banished
seeing how
from
effective his
Kinos
new
after he
methods were,
breached
gathered
their
his clan
fragile
into many
peace
small
with the
camps around
Blackborough
Greater
Lows.
Fadar.
Gainok was left to die in the
hundreds of
common
torches
lands
for a
and
second
pleaded
assault.
for help
The
from
Lord
the
of
gods,
Kelvin,
but they
desperate for
refused to
help,
save him
sent
for his
word of
past
his plight to
treachery
the
and
heart of the
abandoned
Empire.
him to his fate.
Felwood.
In a final act
So,
of evil,
yeah, after the second
recovering his
attack,
strength
the Wood
in the
Elves
knight's
received the help they
stronghold,
desperately needed
Gainok
to
murdered
back
his
the
knightly
orcs.
host
And,
and stacked
yeah,
their
and from the
butchered
second
bodies
from the
upon the
same
holy
source, they
altars
actually
in the
mentioned
middle
that
of the
Geralt
night and
was later
offered them up
killed
as
after the
defiled
retreat by his own
sacrifices
followers.
to any
So,
force that would grant him
pretty
enough
brutal.
strength
Man,
to take his
that's,
revenge on
intense.
Kinos.
I kinda
It was
like
in
this
that
guy
moment that a
because,
mysterious power,
as an
known
army
only as
strategist
the
myself,
Dark,
he seems
answered
pretty
his
smart.
pleas
I mean,
and
burning
granted him
down
eternal
the
life
entire
and undeath,
force, that's
but
pretty.
forever
He
anchored his
seems,
soul to
like
the
Sherman's
confines
march
of those
back
halls
in the
of
day.
death.
Just
Dark
lighting
went on
up
to
total
consume
war,
the
burning
entirety
everything
of
to
the
the ground.
stronghold
Wow,
and
that's a
raised
cool
the
story.
slain knights into undead servants of
respected
evil.
him.
A most vile curse
I
had
have respect
befallen
for them
that
now.
once
Well,
sacred
one
place,
thing I noticed,
and thus
Carlos, is
it
you got
became
the
forever
crush
known
bone words,
as
and then I think
Befallen.
yesterday in the
As time passed,
comments I saw,
servants of evil
Death
learned of
Fist,
Befallen and the
so
Dark
I'm
within.
assuming it's a
Shadow Knights
plan
and
that
necromancers
maybe
flocked to the
That's
tomb
right.
in search
Yeah.
of power,
And,
only to be trapped
So anything
and
else?
turned into
Anything
undead
else on that
servants
for us,
of the
Carlos?
dark.
Or
However,
no, but
there is
I
one
wanted to
legend
point
that
out,
speaks of a powerful
that
gnomish
Squigs
necromancer,
on
known
Twitter,
only
he
as the
posted, and I
Thaumaturg,
quote,
who is
"You
free
forgot
of
the
the
high
Dark's
elves living in
curse.
Fadwar.
She studies
Don't blame you
that
guys.
in
They're
the dark,
stuck up.
in
And,
secret,
that
and
is true,
hopes
so
to
thanks for the
harness
heads
its
up, Squigs.
powers to
And
resurrect
touch
her
on that,
master,
yes, the elves, the high elves,
to
originally hailed
raise
from
an undead
Antonica
army
until
and
the
conquer
empire
all of
was
North
destroyed by
and
Somerset
all who
Row
live.
long ago.
I bid you
which is
well, my
obviously
dear
one of those
gnomish
17
friends, and
other
caution you
things
to
that
stay
Derek
away
actually
from that
mentioned.
cursed
And
place.
that's another
No
thing that we definitely
good
got to
can
touch
come
on a
of
later
it.
date.
Beware,
It
whatever
forced
you
the
do, do
remaining
not
elf
go to
refugees
Befallen.
to flee across the
just
Ocean
as
of
quickly
Tears
as the old
to build
wizard
up their new city, which was
vanished
obviously Felwith.
into the cool
And
black
you can
air.
also find that in Greater Fadark. And as Squigs
So what do we all
mentioned,
think
they
about
are
the
quite stuck
lore
up.
here
You
for
know, the high
Befallen?
elves are known to be as are seen as
if we only
arrogant,
would've listened
and
to that
they
crusty
see no
old
race
wizard, eh?
equal or better than them.
And I believe the
Yeah, it was a
ocean of
great-
tears is
great-
named after that Exodus.
Yeah,
Is that
it's
correct?
pretty
Like when
intense.
the
You know, when
elves
I did
came
the
over?
lore dive,
that's
I
a
got
good
the
point,
lore there
Anthony.
from the
There's
Befallen
two
book that was
main,
written by Owen
things
Stevens for the Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 edition.
How
there was
the
a
origin of
module
that name.
that was actually
So, like you
Dungeon
said, yeah.
Matter.
The
and
first one
so
was
we went
it
there
was
to
named after
Befallen.
that
Some of the funny
Exodus,
things that kind of happened to us while we're there. I think would have that's my favorite one. Forewarned if we had listened to this story.
Why it's called Ocean Tears. But you can also find that some people or some sources say that the ocean
highlights for me. Here we go. Mine focuses on Carlos' character
to resemble teardrops. So that's the other.
Here we go.
Interesting. Okay, I like the first one.
You gotta give him some benefits. This is his first time playing a cleric
class. And so, with that, everybody, that's going to wrap up today's episode.
So here's two examples. So the first one was
power level this podcast.
He was healing the group group, we were in combat with a variety of monsters.
On iTunes or the respective
Anthony was mezzing them with his enchanter.
That you listen to us
I was nuking
and
some.
Thanks again so much.
Everyone was being attacked.
You can find us on Twitter at Return,
and that's it. No one was on the brink of death. So
Carlos, and hit us up with any memories that you have, your favorite memory, your favorite songs.
Hey guys,
answering any of the questions we asked here tonight.
I'm getting attacked by a monster.
And next time we're going to be talking
about everyone else is too, right? And then everyone continues doing their things. Like,
until then, take care, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
And then everyone's yelling and whatever. Like, we got to get this monster, this one, whatever, So, and then I look back at Carlos, and because I'm not getting healed, and I look back at him, and I just see his character topple over down to the ground.
Yeah,
you gotta be.
What are you gonna do? I'm gonna scream with all my lungs.
You typically, if he said, "Hey guys, I'm really getting attacked right here. If you don't help me out, I'm gonna die." Instead, he's like, "Hey guys,
all I'm saying, you pointed out that our enchanter was doing all the messing. I wonder how the healer was getting all the aggro then.
Hey, I was keeping the place under control. It's not my fault that
you know what it is, Anthony. You know what it is. It all goes back full circle because who was using AOE spells? Who was that?
Oh, that was Evernerd. Evernerd.
It was Evernerd. Exactly.
That's right.
Like 5 monsters attacking you. You got to use AOE.
Okay, so all the mezzing that
you're attacking everybody, and you guys, I know how to deal with aggro. Clearly.
All I have to say is, just take a good look at a mirror. And then if you want to talk about aggroing,
this is true because I'm using my military professionalism to call out targets. I'm saying mesmerizing skeleton, mesmerizing necromancer, and then Evernerd's are like brain fire, broken arrow, and then everybody's breaking mez. It's chaos in there. Yeah.
All I'm saying is I don't want to alarm the group. Whenever if I'm getting hit, I understand that the Mezzer is going to get him eventually, but when there's 5 or 6, 10 mobs that come to me, we have an issue.
Yeah. Well, okay. So that's my first scenario of Ticklewinks, and here's my second beef with Ticklewinks.
Beef? I thought it was funny things. That was the whole point of this. Go ahead. All right. Let me hear it.
So then we decide to move from one room to another, and the situation here is you had to go through a hidden wall. So Anthony, I, and everyone in the group except Carlos. Carlos decides to stay in the old room while he's medding to regain his mana. Everyone else goes to the next room, and we're fighting 3 or 4 monsters in there because everything starts attacking us at once. So we're saying, "Hey, Carlos, we need heals. We need heals, Carlos. We're dying over here. Why aren't we getting heals?" Carlos like, I'm trying to heal. I'm like, "No, you have to come through the wall to heal us because you got to see us." He has to be in eye vision, line of sight to cast the heal spell. You can't cast in another room. So then he's like, no, you guys come over here to me. And I'm like, "No, you come over here to us. We're not gonna. If we go over there to you, the monster are gonna be attacking us on the way over there." So, what's your story, Carlos?
All I have to say is this was discussed between Winkeltings and Nurfenpurf, and it was agreed that you guys will pull the mobs back into the bigger room for 2 reasons. Number one, it's a very tiny room, and it's impossible to actually get the line of sight on everybody because you're trying to go into hallways. And number 2, you have to worry about those dang necromancers. And you know what happens when those necromancers get aggro to me? They fear you, and that is the scariest thing that could happen in Befallen. If they fear you and you go running around like crazy. So I thought the agreement was you pull them back, and then we have this wide open space. It's very easy for the enchanter to do the mezzing, and the healer touch should take care of the team. That's all. But yeah, those were great, funny ones, Derek.
We'll have some enlightening facts come to light here in a little bit on those situations. So, Carlos, what do you got?
Well, I mean, I'll keep it to the subject in line. I think we decided to talk about funny parts. So I think the traps were quite hilarious. There was a point in time where the group went into a room in a single file, and Nurfenpurf was taking point. He goes in, then Ticklewinks, I go in, and then all of a sudden Evernerd and Stabster just disappear. I don't see them anymore, and then they start screaming because there's a whole bunch of mobs actually attacking them. And I have to say, this was the first time that I've ever seen Evernerd in panic mode. So that's always going to be close to my heart now.
I think it was a will-o-wisp attacking him or something too. Which we'll talk about the will-o-wisp. We'll talk about the will-o-wisp here in a second. So I got mine to add. So Derek had our nephews his sons play with us because we needed some extra support. So they made a little gnome rogue. And I'm like, all right, Derek, they've played before. You kind of trained them up. He's like, yeah, they're good. So I'm like, all right, Nurfenpurf is acting as the pooler because Befallen, to kind of give some oversight, it's kind of a small dungeon. There's like 3 levels to it, and you need a key to go to each level, and they're kind of like small, close quarters. So I said, okay, what I'll do is I'll go in there and I can cast like Calm on some of the monsters so they don't all aggro. Like if you attack one, all 4 in the room don't come and join. So I kind of calm them all, and then I'll pull one, and I'll keep everybody mez if you're doing that. So I'm pulling, right? And Derek's his 2 sons are kind of taking turns playing this character. So the first half of the night, his older son played, and he's coming on. He's like, hey, I'm ready to play. I'm like, all right, just stay behind me. I'm pulling this stuff. Stay in the room, and you just backstab monsters. Like, okay, got it. So I go into the room. Now there's undead everywhere, right? And undead see through and vis. And here comes my nephew with his rogue. He's like, look, I'm hiding. They can't see me. I just learned this. This is the coolest thing ever. I'm like, no, what are you doing? And then all the monsters come. 4 freaking skeletons start beating up on us, and they wipe us, right? And so the second part of the night are, my next nephew comes to take over this rogue character. And this goes back to that story that Evernerd was talking about with the wall and Ticklewinks not coming in. So I'm out there. I'm going to pull from behind this hidden wall. I'm going to pull into the room we're in. That's like little cave in the back of Befallen there. And the second nephew comes up. He's like, hey, I'm ready to play. I'm like, okay, just stay behind me. And sure enough, he does the same thing. Yeah, I can hide. Look at this. Really cool. They can't see me. And then all this undead trade comes running in at us. So both of my nephews got us kind of wiped out because Derek trained them to think that hide makes them invisible to everything. But it was good times. I enjoyed playing with our nephews there. It's really fun, family fun.
I think a rogue, because I never played rogue before, and I was doing some reading, but I think a rogue's hide is invisible to undead as well. I'm not 100%, but I think that's the case. And if that's the case, they just thought they were hidden, but they were walking through the room unhidden because their level was so low, their skill level was so low in hide skill. So that's one thing that we'd have to confirm later.
Yeah. That's true. We'll look into that. And so the monsters in Befallen are mainly undead. So we have like our skeletons and our necromancers, zombies, mummies. Shadow Knights are pretty cool. They tie in with the lore, but you kill a Shadow Knight, you get a key, and then it allows you to go deeper into the dungeon. And then you have the Thaumaturgist, who is a spellcaster. There's a bunch of them down there, and they drop some cool loot. So what did you all think about the monsters that we fought in Befallen?
Oh, gosh, I hated the mobs here. To be honest with you, like I said earlier, those necromancers, man, in such small places like Befallen, getting feared is a death sentence. I mean, I was the victim of that at least a couple of times, and watching Ticklewinks aimlessly run down these rooms, making a nice train of ghouls and skeletons. Yeah, not fun because obviously the ghouls will root you and then slap you silly. I also thought it was quite hilarious that the smallest type of mob that we have in this zone was the one we were most frustrated with, and that was those dang will-o-wisps.
I'll let Derek talk about the will-o-wisp nest. I'll leave that action for him, but for me, what I really liked was the concept of progressing through the dungeon and fighting those Shadow Knights and getting keys. I think that was a really cool design mechanic because I felt like we completed the entire dungeon. We went from top to bottom. We ended up killing the big bad in there, the Thaumaturgus, and got their robes. And I just really enjoyed the progression of getting the keys. Eric, what'd you think of those will-o-wisps?
Yeah, I think the progression was good, but like you said, but eventually when we died, what we did was take the quick route back was, like the second door on the right from the entrance, you go through and you could jump through a well, and it takes you all the way down to the bottom where the named monsters were that we could kill and get the equipment. But you're right, those monsters were all red to us, meaning they're way above our level, but the will-o-wisp were blue to us, meaning they were below our level, and they were the hardest monsters to kill because we're all spellcasters, and you couldn't cast one spell on the thing. I mean, the only things we had to rely on, we had 2 pets, or the rogue and 1 pet, attacking, and the mage's pet, and it took them forever to kill us. So when the will-o-wisp gets low on life, it starts running or retreating to another room, bringing all these other monsters to attack you. So I looked up online, what kills these things, and it says online that they can be attacked with only magic weapons and spells. They can't be attacked with regular weapons, and but the funny thing is resisted all of our spells. So I would have to, triple check that, because I don't know why they were resisting everything if magic is what's supposed to kill them.
Right, and you can't root them either. So
no, it was very frustrating.
Those are tough, but I think we came out of there with some pretty good loot. So we ended up getting the barbed leg plates for Carlos's character, Ticklewinks. We got the Gossamer robes, the Thaumaturgus robes, and there was some like damask armor, kind of like cloth, but higher AC. And then we got some like chip bone wands and some blackened wands. So I thought overall it was fun, the loot.
Yeah, and we got to upgrade. All of our characters are wearing like base level cloth items on our guys. So this was able to give us, new robes for all of us and new cloth armor pieces that improve our armor class.
Yeah, Carlos, what do you think of your new leg plates?
Yeah, it's actually the first decent gear that Ticklewinks was able to wear, so I'm enjoying that. Hopefully, on the next zones we can get better gear as well. But like Derek was saying, it's actually exciting to finally get out of those cloth gear and get a little better sets.
And for those who are listening, what do we think of the atmosphere we can share with them? I took away, it's kind of like a eerie undead tomb, almost like I don't want to say pyramid, but it kind of had that vibe, right? Like a Egyptian type thing going on with the undead in a tomb in the desert. But what do you all think?
Carlos?
Oh, sure. I think I got to go with that. It goes with that tomb, old school cave, and you can see all the spikes and remember those heads on pikes that we saw at the beginning at the entrance.
Yeah, so at the entrance.
It was kind of eerie and creepy that way.
Well, great. We're going to take and wrap it up here, everybody. We're looking to go to the Warrens next. So we're heading to Otis for the first time with our characters. It's a long journey from Befallen in the Common Lands to the Warrens. And we're going to go kill the Kobold King, because we started our adventuring with the Kobolds in Steamfont Mountains, and now we're going into the Den of Evil with our gnomes, and we're going to finish what we started. We're going to put them out of business. We'd like to remind you all that we're so appreciative for all the ratings and reviews that you've been leaving for our show, and we look forward to bringing you the best show we can. If you want to reach out to us, the best place to find us is on Twitter at return2EQ, at return to EQ. And you can find us on our website at anthonydreams.com. Thank you and have a good one, and see you all next time. Take care.